Welcome to India Today interview, Mr. Mukherjee.
Thank you.
I was wondering that 2006 has ended on a very happy note. There has not been any major crisis. Economy is doing very well. And since you have been the anchor of this government, in fact, do you think the credit goes to you or the party or the Prime Minister? Who else?
No question of credit coming to me.
Because you are heading almost all the...
I am one of that team member. You know, after all, in our system, the decisions are taken collectively by the cabinet. Prime Minister is the head of the cabinet. And cabinet is accountable and responsible for the decisions. Therefore, it is the credit of the cabinet.
It is magnanimity of yours. But
of course, headed by the Prime Minister.
So the question is a coalition government. First time
Yeah.
you have Congress party is heading a coalition government since independence. So handling these coalition conflicts is also a major problem. And since you have been either chairperson of most of the group of ministers where all of the parties were also involved, and you have been talking to the opposition as well, don't you think it has been a very difficult job for you?
Of course, running a coalition government in a country like India is a difficult task. Moreover, when Congress leads the coalition, after all, if you look at the evolution of the formation of political parties in this country, most of them were anti-Congress. And sometimes the coalition governments were formed, but that is to oppose Congress, either before election or after election. This is for the first time at center. Congress is heading a coalition government. And to have a coalition, to run a coalition government, you require a lot of adjustments, a lot of flexibilities. But the success of the coalition government to a considerable extent is the contribution of Chairperson Sonia Gandhi, Chairperson of UPA and Congress President, and Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Because Mrs. Sonia Gandhi managed the political side, and within the government it was managed by Prime Minister, and his approach, his spirit of accommodation, and moreover the overall respect he commands from his colleagues helped him considerably to overcome the crisis as and when it arose.
No, I don't think that you would have done better if it was not a coalition government. Do you think that?
Look, what is not there, it would be absolutely a hypothetical.
This is dodging a question.
So far, no, it's not logical in the sense, after all, people have the track record of Congress. Congress ran government at the center for 45 years.
So you would have done better, no?
Therefore, of course, we have done well.
You could have done better if it was only a Congress-led government.
That would be a value judgment to my mind right now, because we don't have the majority.
But you have compromised also on your ideology.
And sometimes, you know, compromise is not bad, because sometimes absolute power, total power, not always, but sometimes it creates problem. Therefore, there is an old saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
That's why when Rajiv Gandhi got 410 seats, after that you got 200 seats.
Not only Rajiv Gandhi's 415 came down to 195.
Yeah.
Even in 1971, Mrs. Indira Gandhi got 373. And after that in 1977, it came down to 153. So it happens in parliamentary politics. It will be up and down.
Mr. Mukherjee, you are a very senior politician and you have done very well for the government. You have worked under 3 Prime Ministers. Don't you think what is reflecting in the Congress or the BJP, any national political party, that they are being marginalized? I am asking this question as a journalist working for 30 years covering political parties. I feel marginalized because political leaders are becoming marginalized because they are not in the India Today cover, for example, latest. We have an industrialist on the cover. Earlier 4 covers, newsmakers were always the politicians. This is the first time that we find industrialists beating you. Don't you think marginalization of political leadership is dangerous for this country?
I would not put it as the marginalization of the politicians or political system. Rather, I would put it is the recognition of the other sections. Earlier, it was monopolized by politicians only. But apart from political parties, political personalities, political institutions, there are other sectors and other sections in the society. trade, industry, sports, academic, judiciary, and they should also have their own role. Of course, the political party is the most sensitive to the demand and urge of the people, and they are most responsible and responsive to the need of the people, accountable to the people.
People are losing faith in political leadership?
I would not say that people are losing faith in the political leadership, but surely I would say that always there is a gap between the expectation of the people and the performance, and that gap in democracy is always there.
So people are feeling let down by politicians, you think?
I would not say that they are feeling let down, but surely they are feeling that they are not coming up to their expectations.
But you are a very senior minister, and you have travelled abroad so much as foreign affairs minister earlier, and then finance minister and commerce minister. You have held every important portfolio. India abroad is known now by Tatas, Mittals, Narayana Murthis, no more by Jawaharlal Nehru's or Indira Gandhi's or Vajpayee's or whatever. People don't talk about our leaders, they talk about our industrialists now.
No, you are talking of the changed situation. It is not merely in case of India. As you have said that I am be told in the political arena of this country. From my own experiences, I can tell you. Say in the 80s, when we used to attend the Fund Bank meeting, along with the meeting of the World Bank and IMF, I am talking of the annual meeting. Normally, the international bankers, major investors, they used to come, and there was almost a beeline of them to the leaders of the political parties, not political parties, leaders of the government, who are political establishments, finance ministers, those were the conference of finance ministers. The investors wanted to make investment in those countries. Now the picture has changed. Today in Davos, where the economic summit takes place, which is a combination of political leaders and the leaders of the industry, political leaders, they invite the leaders of the industry to come and make investment, because everybody wants investment, everybody wants development. People recognize that the limitation of the government as catalytic agent for economic development is limited, and there has been a conceptual change. At one point of time, there was a thinking that government is Leviathan. So government can do anything and everything. But please let me complete, then you can pull the answer. But today there has been a change, because the limitations of the governments are also being recognized. And government does not necessarily mean merely the political establishment. Along with it, in many countries, for instance USA, where free economy was there, or even in most European countries, industry was also a part of that. In India, because it was a controlled economy for a very long period of time, industry and political establishment of the government were treated separately. But no longer it is not a case right now.
It means you realize now that earlier you are having bad economics for good politics. Now you are having good economics for bad politics.
It is oversimplification. Neither we had bad economics and good politics earlier, nor we are having good economics, bad politics now. It is not that. Question is that the type of, because just I am giving you one example, to manage economy of 350 million people and to manage economy for more than 1 billion people are not the same. Requirements are not the same, parameters are not the same.
But do you think the politicians have to change?
Secondly, the point is that there are phases of development. A policy which is relevant to a particular period of time need not necessarily be relevant with the change of the objective conditions. The policies which we are pursuing after the independence. The international scenario was what was divided into two camps. Shadow of the devastating Second World War was there. Entire economic, industrial, financial structures were completely destroyed. In that situation, we got the independence. Therefore, it was the responsibility of the government to play the catalytic role, to play the role of a catalytic agent in the economic development. But in the 90s, when the public sectors all over the world, including India, gathered momentum, gathered strength, naturally the role of the private sectors increased substantially.
No, Mr. Mukherjee, you are absolutely, when the Narasimha Rao came to power in 1991, 1996, the economic policies of that part, it was the reflection of you were dismantling public sector at that time. Disinvestment started first time during that period. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister at that point of time. Partial disinvestment of PSUs started. So there is a similarity of economic policies of 91, 96 and now 2004, 2007.
I would like to say that there was a major change in the economic policies in 91, in industrial policy, in trade policy, in investment policy. And that policy is continuing. But when we began, our base was very weak. And today, our base is very strong. The basic fundamentals of economy are very strong. I will give you just one example. Immediately before we came to power in 91, the then finance minister had to mortgage our gold just to borrow a few $100 million in foreign exchange because of the abnormally low foreign exchange reserves. Today, it is not the situation that, because base of Indian economy is very strong. Of course, it is the contribution of the policy.
Do you agree that you are saying continuation of the earlier policy? I am saying the same policy, the same thing.
Yeah.
So you
No. What I am saying that no policy you can delink it, because if you look at the industrial policy evolution, the first policy formulation took place in independent India was in 1948, and at that time industry minister was Dr. Prasad Mukherjee.
Yeah,
First industrial policy resolution, thereafter 1956, thereafter 1973, thereafter 1980, thereafter 1985.
56 industrial resolution is still, some of parts are still there.
Yeah,
you have not changed them.
That is,
some of them are still there.
No, there has been major changes. In 73 policies, if you just take the text of these two policies, you will find a lot of changes. Of course, Indian policy, you will always find that there has not been any radical departure. Radical departure has taken place, or
91.
substantial departure has taken place in 91. But the beginning, for instance, portfolio investment, NRI investment.
Yeah.
You look at my budget in 1982, and you look at the budget of Dr. Manmohan Singh in 1991. So far, the
1982, your budget and 91 budget.
And 91 budget.
Correct.
The NRI investment, which I propose, is almost the same. But Indian industry strongly resisted my proposal of NRI portfolio investment, and in 1992 it was overwhelmingly welcomed because the objective conditions changed.
Mindset had changed.
Not only mindset, objective conditions have changed. I borrowed from IMF fund to overcome the crisis of foreign exchange. But a situation was not there. A sovereign country had to mortgage its gold, pledge its gold, just to borrow a few hundred million.
That was within 1 year of that government. It cannot go
No,
bankrupt within 1 year of coming back
No,
to power.
it is not the question of 1 year. It is not the question of passing blame. It is the question of changing the ground reality, coupled by 3 consecutive oil crises, which began in 73, which again was in 1979, and then again after the Kuwait war. Therefore, all these had its cumulative impact.
The question is whether those policies which you changed in 1991 and 96 and what you are following now, did they help you politically or not? We'll come back to you after the break. Welcome to Headline Special again.
Thank you.
I was asking you the economic policy which you are following now. You followed almost the same policy in 91, 96, but you were defeated and you were dubbed as pro-rich economic policy party. Is it going to be the same?
Look, it is oversimplification. Electoral battles are won and lost not on one reason, but on many reasons. In 1977, Indian economy was on a very sound footing. For the first time, the country had the positive trade balance.
But that was
In
emergency.
1976, that's why Precisely.
But there is no emergency here now.
That precisely, no, there are many other political reasons. First, there has been a tremendous impact of the demolition of Babri Mosque during the period of 92. Secondly, you will always have to keep in view the political polarization. Polarization of the political forces. In India, no political outfit has won the election by winning 51% of the total votes polled. Always, starting from days of Nehru to Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao. When Congress party got clear absolute two-third majority or more than two-third majority, even the voting share was not more than 45-46%. That means remaining 55-56% votes were split. So how it is polarized, that is another important factor.
So you lost because of polarization, political forces, rather than due to your economic policy.
For many reasons. It is not because of economic policies.
No, there is always a contradiction in Congress. You have been in the Congress committee member, you have been a parliamentary board member. What I am saying that since 1991, when you crossed 200 seats, you have never crossed 150 since then. 5 elections have been held after that. You have not crossed 150 seats.
You are forgetting 5 elections have taken place within a period of 15 years, not in 25 years.
So you didn't have time to prepare?
Therefore, the situation has not changed in
the
that
Congress
way.
party has lost somewhere the political class, which it was always its favorite.
It is okay. Of course, we have lost some important bases like UP, like Bihar, like Bengal, like Tamil Nadu, and these 4 states, they account for 40% of the Lok Sabha seats. Therefore,
and Tamil Nadu also, you are in coalition, therefore you
we are in coalition for quite some time, and the type of coalition which will click, it depends on that. This time the coalition has clicked, and this coalition, Congress DMK coalition has won all the seats. That has happened in Tamil Nadu all along. But the short point which I am trying to drive at, that 4-5 states which account for 40% of the Lok Sabha seats, if your bases are eroded there, it will have a massive impact in the.
So Congress has lost its major vote bank, basically.
In certain states, but not everywhere.
Even now there is a contradiction in Congress policy because.
Look, contradiction in political parties is bound to be there.
No, let me explain the contradiction. At the same time, for example, you lost Muslim because of Babri Masjid, which you are saying at that point of time. Even now, by your Indo-US nuclear deal, at the one point of time, people are opposed to that deal, whatever reasons, I don't know, because it seems people have welcomed the policy here, what's the deal which you are opposed. But the Muslims are opposed to it. And second time, Mr. HRD minister is following a particular kind of Muslim upgradation, Muslim upliftment, whatever you call it, and BJP calls it Muslim appeasement. You are not able, you don't know what you want to do. Is it correct that you are confused about what to do with the minority, which was your basic vote bank earlier?
No, not at all. We are quite clear what to do about the minority, and it is not merely linked with the vote bank politics. It is also linked with the basic objective of helping them, because one of the basic objective of Congress policies is the social reconstructions. A section of the society which is not, whose lots have not improved, positive steps, affirmative actions are needed to improve their lot. Congress has done just that and trying to do that irrespective of whether it would yield in the ballot box or not.
No, but earlier foreign policy never influenced your vote banks here. This is the first time we are noticing that foreign policy of Congress government is also influencing the vote policy.
I am afraid it is not so. It is not so.
But are you constrained on your foreign policy
because
by
firstly,
coalition
you will
politics?
have to look into it that Indo-US nuclear deal is yet to take place, and after that there has not been any major election. So how could you talk of in terms of vote?
But Minister, are your allies constraining you on your foreign policy choices, be it Sri Lanka, be it US, be it Iran? Your allies are dictating foreign policy choices now.
No, not at all.
But you have to do a lot of explaining to them.
Of course, I had to explain to BJP. It is not a question of explaining. It is
your left allies.
Yes, I have. As I have explained it to my left allies, I have equally explained it to the BJP leaders.
But is it a problem for you?
No, not at all, because it demands. Parliamentary democracy demands that when there is a broad consensus in respect of foreign policy, there is a major consensus, and we should try to maintain that consensus, and keeping that in view, we apprise them of the developments which took place in our neighborhood.
But when you're talking about, he's talking about that you are constrained by left, for example, Indo-US politics, nuclear deal which you're talking is yet to take place. This is the statement you're saying, that it's obviously you are also sorting out certain problems. Unless these are sorted out, you will not be able to go through walk the law. So you think there are certain problems which still you want to resolve.
I explained in details in Parliament which are the problem areas. Prime Minister explained in detail which are the problem areas.
Obviously, you are not happy the way it has been framed.
It's not a question of happiness or unhappiness. In real politics, you cannot just put it straight away good, bad. It will have to be always mixed.
The black, it is in black and white now. It is not in the.
No. Certain areas, your concerns have taken care of. In certain areas, your concerns have not taken care of.
What are these areas, Minister?
That I cannot explain it. You please read my parliamentary speech. That will be adequate. That will help you to understand that.
The scientists have opposed.
Because no, scientists have been briefed. A section of the scientists they have opposed. They have expressed their concerns. But if those concerns are taken note of, surely there will not
you will
be any
move
problem.
and you will go for 1, 2, 3 only if those concerns are taken care of.
Of course, that is the
That's
commitment
the statement
we
you
have
are
made.
given.
That is the commitment we have made.
So obviously you are waiting for those concerns when the formal deal comes there. But I am talking in terms of its politics here. That people are saying that it is Muslims are feeling that you should not have done this deal. They don't look at the merit of the deal. They look at the politics of the deal.
I think you are oversimplifying the issue. At least I do not have any such information that the Muslims are overwhelmingly against Indo-US
I am looking at the
nuclear deal.
protests. I am not looking. I can't count the numbers. So I am just looking at the protest which is happening on the street.
I do not know that, frankly speaking. That I am hearing it for the first time from you, that the Muslims as a community are against Indo-US deal.
He's talking about
nuclear
some protests. He's
Protest.
talking about
I'm
the
talking about
protests.
protest.
Protests have come from both sectors,
Left
not
and
only from the Muslims. Therefore, you cannot just make it a community issue.
but
There is a section in the Indian public opinion who do not want this agreement. But I have
even
not
in this
heard.
form you also don't want it. You
I
want
have not heard that. I am telling you, admitting my ignorance, frankly,
In the form
that
which
only the Muslims are opposed to it.
No, I am saying Muslims are visibly protesting along with the CPM. BJP is also opposing, as you rightly
Yeah.
pointed out. That's BJP is also opposing the same. And you as the Congress leader also saying that in the current form, unless your concerns are sorted out,
Unless certain issues are taken care of, certain concerns are addressed, it would not be possible for us to go with it.
now since you are going to Pakistan, next this is your first visit to Pakistan as a foreign minister, I saw your statement that Indo-Pak relations are on crossroad. Which road you want to follow?
No. I have not said on
Yeah.
crossroads. What I have stated.
I've got a clipping.
Anyway, I
the
do
TV
not know
interview
how
said
do
that.
you put it in it, but I remember every word
I'm
what
quoting
I
the
said.
TV interview. I'm not. These are not my words.
I have said that I am just putting it that I am going to Pakistan firstly to extend an invitation to President Musharraf to attend 14th SAARC summit. That is the official job. And when we meet, surely we do not discuss weather, we discuss the issues.
Boundaries.
We discuss the issues. Therefore, all the issues which are there, we will try to discuss it. We are to launch SAFTA. With all other countries, tariff reductions have been finalized. Pakistan, it is yet to be done. Because their trade is on the basis of a positive list. It is not free trade. But the objective of the SAFTA is free trade without any restrictions. That issues are to be resolved. Similarly, we will also like to review at the foreign ministers level, the composite dialogue. Third round of composite dialogue is over. So all these things will be discussed.
Mr. Minister, the biggest impediment to the peace process is the issue of terrorism. Assurance from the Pakistan that all terrorist acts directed against India will stop. Because people of India are losing faith in the peace
I am
process.
afraid, young man, the assurance is already there.
But it's not been
please,
abided by.
This assurance was obtained by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee on 4th of January 2004. Assurance, frankly,
In the form
that
which
only the Muslims are opposed to it.
No, I'm saying Muslims are visibly protesting along with the CPM. BJP is also opposing, as you rightly
Yeah.
pointed out. That's BJP is also opposing the same. And you as the Congress leader also saying that in the current form, unless your concerns are sorted out,
Unless certain issues are taken care of, certain concerns are addressed, it would not be possible for us to go with it.
Now, since you are going to Pakistan next, this is your first visit to Pakistan as a foreign minister. I saw your statement that Indo-Pak relations are on crossroad. Which road you want to follow?
No. I have not said on
Yeah.
crossroads. What I have stated.
I've got a clipping with
Anyway, I
the
do
TV
not know
interview
how
said-
do you put it in it, but I remember every word.
I'm
what
putting
I
a TV
said.
interview. I'm not. These are not my words.
I have said that I am just putting it that I am going to Pakistan firstly to extend an invitation to President Musharraf to attend 14th SAARC summit. That is the official. And when we meet, surely we do not discuss weather, we discuss the issues.
Boundaries.
We discuss the issues. Therefore, all the issues which are there, we will try to discuss it. We have to launch SAFTA. With all other countries, tariff reductions have been finalized. Pakistan, it is yet to be done, because their trade is on the basis of a positive list. It is not free trade, but the objective of the SAFTA is free trade without any restrictions. That issues are to be resolved. Similarly, we will also like to review at the foreign ministers level, the composite dialogue. Third round of composite dialogue is over. So all these things will be discussed.
Mr. Minister, the biggest impediment to the peace process is the issue of terrorism. Are you going to seek an explicit assurance from the Pakistani leadership that all terrorist acts directed against India will stop? Because people of India are losing faith in the peace
I am
process.
afraid, young man, the assurance is already there.
But it's not been
please,
abided by.
This assurance was obtained by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee on 4th of January 2004. President Musharraf at the margin of President Musharraf assured him that Pakistani territory or Pakistani dominated territory will not be allowed to be used by the terrorists. Question is not of assurance which you are asking me to seek from me. Question is that how these assurances are actually implemented
That's what I
into
was referring
action.
to.
But one of your interviews you said that Musharraf's explanation on terrorist camp is not convincing.
What?
That Musharraf's explanation on terrorist camps or
Not being
or not being implemented.
No, it has not been
Unconvincing. Use the word
dismantled.
unconvincing.
No, it has not been. I did not say that his statement is not convincing. What I stated that infrastructural facilities available for launching the terrorists have not been dismantled. Therefore, it has not been implemented.
But do you think that the peace process will be affected if the terrorism continues from across the border?
That is the issue which has been flagged even at the foreign secretary level meeting.
Again?
Of course, this discussion, this is an issue which will have to be flagged. What is the point you are talking?
Look, I agree with you.
I do not understand.
Yeah, you are
If you
going to
just
speak.
want to talk for talk's sake, it's a
No,
different
I'm just trying to ask you what is
I
our
have
core
answered
concern.
the question.
No, you are right that these questions are already fundamental issues which have to
Yeah.
be flagged every time you talk.
Every
to them.
time fundamental issues have to be
But
flagged. It
question is, I am
obvious.
repeating the same which I repeated to Vajpayee also at that time. He assures you every time that he would dismantle everything, but he never does it, or the Pakistan establishment doesn't do it. So, do you think you can deal with a person do a business with a person like him who doesn't implement what he
Always
assures?
we shall have to try to do business. Whether we can or we cannot, only time will say.
Like I did an interview just now with Benazir, which is telecast yesterday, and it appeared in India today, which talks about that you cannot trust him, you can't deal with a dictator.
Of course, that is hard as
You have a comment, you will deal with the ruler, whoever is the ruler. I agree with that point of view. But she says, I cannot trust him. Do you think we can trust Musharraf now or not?
That is between her and President.
No,
Musharraf.
we, it means
But
India.
when we are to deal with a head of a state, or we are to deal with a statesman. Basic presumption would be that we will trust each other.
What about Kashmir? Do you have any package solution that is being discussed from Kashmir?
I do not have any ready-made solution.
No, but after you visit, Hurriyat leaders will be going to visit there. You briefed the opposition leaders on Kashmir.
Hurriyat's leaders, you are telling certain obvious things. Hurriyat's leaders visit Pakistan. Pakistani leaders, when they come to Delhi or India, Hurriyat's leaders meet them. So what is new in it?
But is there a pattern? Are we discussing a Kashmir solution which on the lines which General Musharraf has been suggesting?
We are trying to resolve the issues of Kashmir in the context of Simla Agreement, Lahore Declaration, series of talks which have taken place, composite dialogue, of which resolution of the problem of Jammu and Kashmir is a part.
He made that
In
4-point
this
formula. That
context we are going to discuss.
what formula he made, 4-point formula at that point of time. That joint mechanism.
Self-governance
That
and
self-governance.
demilitarization he's been
All
talking
these
about.
issues have been raised from time to time, and the responses are there. You have heard the Prime Minister's response at Amritsar.
One thing you have been very obviously, it has been a very difficult job as a foreign minister and important minister. You have been taking everybody into confidence. When it comes to foreign policy and economic policy, do you find that in India you are not able to build that kind of consensus even now, which you could do it earlier when you as the Congress party alone were in power?
Look, this your question itself is self-contradictory.
When
Consensus emerges when there is no clear majority for anybody. When Congress had its total absolute majority, then the Congress policy was implemented. Today what we are implementing is the policy laid down in the common minimum program, because it is a coalition government.
on foreign policy, when you were there, for example, Vajpayee led a government delegation when he was leader of the opposition to United Nations. You remember at that point of time when Salman Human Rights Commission. That was the always the consensus.
No, this practice is going on from the late 70s. Earlier in United Nations, only the ruling party members were sent. But when the Janata Party came to power, I must give them credit, in 77, they first took Mr. George, who was Deputy Minister of Commerce. He was sent as one of the official delegation, and thereafter this practice has continued. It is
Let me ask a couple of two questions last one. Now coming to the conclusion, for example, now you have been completing 3 years next couple of months. Do you think in the reform process which Congress is committed to, you have not been able to fulfill various things which you have already done in the cabinet? FDI, telecom sector, insurance, for example, you promised is stuck there. Labor reforms are stuck. So do you think it is because of the coalition compulsions?
Look, here you shall have to, whatever could be done through the administrative route, most of these things have been done. But where you require the legislative support, there you require the support of the others. Unless you can carry conviction with them, you cannot get the law passed. It is as simple as that.
Do you mean to say the left support has been able to give a political stability, but economic instability?
I would not say that. Many of the legislations we got it to Delhi or India, Hurriyat leaders meet them. So what is new in
But
it?
is there a pattern? Are we discussing a Kashmir solution which on the lines which General Musharraf has been suggesting?
We are trying to resolve the issues of Kashmir in the context of Simla Agreement, Lahore Declaration, series of talks which have taken place, composite dialogue, of which resolution of the problem of Jammu and Kashmir is a part.
He made that
In
four-point
these
formula. That
context we are going to discuss.
what formula he made, four-point formula at that point of time. That joint mechanism, everything,
Self-governance
that
and
self-governance.
demilitarization he's been
All
talking
these
about.
issues have been raised from time to time, and the responses are there. You have heard the Prime Minister's response at Amritsar.
No, one thing you have been very obviously, it has been a very difficult job as a foreign minister and important minister. You have been taking everybody into confidence. When it comes to foreign policy and economic policy, do you find that in India you are not able to build that kind of consensus when you as the Congress alone were in power?
Look, this your question itself is self-contradictory.
When
Concept to Delhi or India, Hurriyat leaders meet them. So what is new in
But
it?
is there a pattern? Are we discussing a Kashmir solution which on the lines which General Musharraf has been suggesting?
We are trying to resolve the issues of Kashmir in the context of Simla Agreement, Lahore Declaration, series of talks which have taken place, composite dialogue, of which resolution of the problem of Jammu and Kashmir is a part.
he made
In
that four-point
these
formula, that
context we are going to discuss.
what formula he made, four-point formula at that point of time. That joint mechanism, everything,
Self-governance
that
and
self-governance.
demilitarization he's been
All
talking
these
about.
issues have been raised from time to time, and the responses are there. You have heard the Prime Minister's response at Amritsar.
No, one thing you have been very obviously been a very difficult job as a foreign minister and important minister. You have been taking everybody into confidence. When it comes to foreign policy and economic policy, do you find that in India you are not able to build that kind of consensus even now, which you could do it earlier when you as the Congress party alone were in power?
Look, this your question itself is self-contradictory.
When
Consensus emerges when there is no clear majority for anybody. When Congress had its total absolute majority, then the Congress policy was implemented. Today what we are implementing is the policy laid down in the common minimum program, because it is a coalition government.
on foreign policy, when you were there, for example, Vajpayee led a government delegation when he was leader of the opposition to United Nations. You remember at that point of time when Salman Khurshid went with him on Human Rights Commission. That was always the consensus on foreign
This
policy.
practice is going on from the late 70s. RDR in United Nations, only the ruling party members were sent. But when the Janata Party came to power, I must give them credit, in 77, they first took Mr. George, who was Deputy Minister of Commerce. He was sent as one of the official delegation, and thereafter this practice has continued. It is
Let me ask a couple of two questions last. Now coming to the conclusion, for example, now you have been completing 3 years, next couple of months. Do you think in the reform process which Congress is committed to, you have not been able to fulfill various things which you have already done in the cabinet? FDI, telecom sector, insurance, for example, you promised, which is stuck there. Labor reforms are stuck. So do you think it is because of the coalition compulsions?
Look, here you shall have to, whatever could be done through the administrative route, most of these things have been done. But where you require the legislative support, there you require the support of the, unless you can carry conviction with them, you cannot get the law passed. It is as simple as
Do you mean
that.
to say the left support has been able to give a political stability, but economic instability?
I would not say that. Many of the legislations we got it passed through their support, on which they had their initial reservations. Take the case of amendment of the Patents Act, second amendment. First amendment was done by BJP, NDA government with our support in Rajya Sabha. But second amendment I am talking. Legislations on SEZs, we have been able to. It took time, but we could.
But they are still opposing, as you said. What
No,
policy
no,
they are saying?
they
that
might have opposed, but the legislation was passed with the support of their members. Otherwise, legislation could not have been passed. Then, in respect of the Right to Information Act, they had their own reservations in certain areas, but we could got it done. Similarly, the latest bill which we have passed for the rights of the forest dwellers, tribals, there also. So, sometimes it may be delayed, but when we talk and discuss, we are able to carry.
But you think left has been more a hindrance than an asset for you?
No, not at all. We are getting the support of their 60 members solidly.
No,
So
but
it is
you
an
are
asset.
also
it is
paying
not
a price for
hindrance.
it. Na?
Huh?
You are paying a price for it.
Everything for that, everything you have to pay price because you are not running a single
So their
party
support is
government.
not free, you mean to say?
It cannot be. It cannot be because it is on the basis of common minimum program. Sometimes the differences come about the interpretation of the common minimum program. They are not supporting Congress.
Doesn't stop you
They
from
are
power
supporting
reforms. It doesn't
UPA. They are
stop
supporting UPA led by Congress on the basis of common minimum program. Differences come on the interpretation of the common minimum.
basically on economic policies, differences come.
Basically, on economic policies, they
What
have their
people,
views.
what the opposition says that there are three centers of power. One is the Congress president, one is the PM,
All
one is
opposition-
Pranab Mukherjee, one is the left. What is correct?
It has become, in your counting, it has become 4 now.
Four now, yes. which one is
no,
more powerful?
Nothing is
Would
true.
you consider yourself as the center of power?
Nothing is true because the fact of the matter
Because you carry
is,
the experience and the brain both.
always you will have problems in running a coalition, but at the same time you have learned to live with these problems and resolve it.
What are the things which you think you failed to do during the last 2.5 years, which you would have done?
We would have done better.
Larger number of things we could have
For
done
example, one or
because
three-
legislations could have become much faster if there was a single party majority. But substantially I would say that we have been able to implement the commitments which we have made substantially, and still 2.5 years
Then
are
what do
to
you
go.
regret having not done?
I don't think we have anything.
You have no regrets at all.
Very
You see, in
diplomatic.
1989-90, country had 10.8% growth, which was the highest since independence. And after that, it went to 1.8%.
Look, just don't go by 1 year figure. What is the growth rate of 1987-88? Immediately after the drought?
Then,
10.6.
but 94
in
to
one
98, it
single
was
year.
7.6.
In one single, therefore, but if you look at the long-term perspective, 51 to 79, 3.5%. Whole of 80s, 5.6%. Whole of 90s, 6.7%. And now in the 2000 onwards, it will be around 7%. Therefore, country is basically progressing, which is getting reflected in terms
What are the
of
major
GDP
problems
growth.
you see in 2007 for yourself?
I do not see any major problem, but there are certain hurdles which we shall have to overcome, and the hurdles are to get things done expeditiously, and I hope we will
Left
have
will
very
not.
smooth functioning of Parliament in 2007. I must candidly admit
But there
the
has been a
biggest problem which we have faced this time. I have made a calculation, I gave it to the media. The time wasted in disruption during the 14th Lok Sabha is unprecedented.
But there has been confrontation between ruling party and the opposition on personal basis
Confrontation
also.
had been earlier also, but this type of wastage of time, that's why I am saying that 14th Lok Sabha, highest amount of time has been wasted for disruptions. If in 2007 it does not happen, I will consider it is a great benefit.
One last question which I am going to ask you. Pranab Mukherjee has always been considered as the #1 minister or #1 politician after the Gandhi family. So, but how come you are always #2?
I am neither #1 nor #2. I am just one of the many.
You could have been the prime minister. You were not upset when Manmohan Singh, who you appointed as governor, you were the appointed prime minister.
That's not the point. But what I am saying
You
is
don't have prime minister ambition.
that neither I am #1 nor I am #2. I am just one of the many.
You don't have a prime minister
Thank you.
ambition.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.